Well, good evening. I'm StormTrack 5 Meteorologist Kit Alexander. Let's talk about the wintry type setup that we have going on this evening. Obviously, whatever you're seeing out your window, feel free to put it in the chat. Of course, send your photos at wcyb.com/chime in. We love to see your photos when it's safe to do so. Okay, so yeah, we have a wintry setup here for this evening. Obviously, we have winter weather advisories in place through the evening for the metro. However, we'll just have to see if these get extended somewhat, as we're still waiting on some snow bands that are still up to the north and west that are going to be moving to the south and the east. So winter weather advisories in place here, just because, now I wanted to say something with this, just because your area has a winter weather advisory does not mean that every single one of you will see the snow accumulate in your exact spot. Now, but what I want to emphasize is where it's so cold, the areas that are seeing those snow bands are seeing some of that accumulation, and we even saw a little bit earlier in Kingsport. So that is kind of what I'm thinking, and sometimes it does melt rather fast. We did see that as well around Dobbins-Bennett. But the areas that are seeing it, it is accumulating. It's much colder. It's in the 20s right now. So anyway, winter weather advisories area-wide. The mountains will have the most significant accumulation. We're going to touch on totals and all that. And please let me know, like I said, what you're seeing out your window. Now, first of all, I want to talk about some of those snow bands. We are looking at satellite and radar. Anywhere that you're seeing some of that darker blue shading, and especially the darkest shades of blue, are consistent with some of those convective bands. And what's happening is almost like a summertime thunderstorm. You have the instability because as you go up with height, the air is just colder and colder and colder. And I know it's already cold as it can be here at the surface, but if you can believe it, it gets even colder with height. And in this case, there's such an extreme temperature difference between height to the surface. It's actually helping to enhance some of these snow squalls. And sometimes when you get some of the lakes and the water temperatures that are warmer, and even chemical plants and so forth can also enhance some of this. So what you're looking at here is the areas that are seeing the snowfall are really localized, but the spots that are seeing it pretty heavy, and it is accumulating. I'll zoom into one of those spots to give you kind of a perspective here. Hortons Island, for instance, around that area into Scott County as well, you are seeing some accumulating snow. And yes, it will stick to the ground. And it'll especially stick to some of those bridges and overpasses. You look in Rogersville, it's mainly light right now at the moment. We have some heavier snow squalls here around Limestone and parts of Greene County. Let's zoom in a little bit on that. You see the Limestone under that heavier snow squall, also back into Telford. Guess what? Jonesboro, some snow's heading your way. It will accumulate. Now, don't expect like a whole ton of snow here. It's just going to be light accumulations, but it could be enough to disrupt some of your travel plans. If you're like me, maybe drive a Ford and it's not four-wheel drive, well, you hit a slick spot, and I mean, four-wheel drive is going to handle this just fine, but you know, some of these normal vehicles like I have it's not going to be as good. But anyway, so we zoom back out here. You notice Wise County getting in on some of that heavier snow in southwest Virginia. We've seen some snow in Abilene as well, especially outside of town, close to Abilene, as much as 1.5 inches a little bit earlier. Also, Washington County, Tennessee, seeing a pretty good amount of some of that snow starting to fall, and yes, it will accumulate. Sulphur Springs back into gray. We're seeing that right now. Let's pan this back out a little bit. Look at all the spotty activity. This is very much in the scattered form of snowfall here, and so when you get some of those snow squalls moving overhead, that's what's going to accumulate. Here's the whole perspective here showing pretty much the whole entire area, where you can see that as well. Like I said, put in the chat, what are you seeing where you're at? A broader perspective shows we still have some more snow and convective bands up to the northwest in Kentucky. Here's what it looks like in Wise County right now. Yeah, believe it or not, there, the runway and the parking lot, well, some of that snow had melted, but here it goes again. So now accumulating back on the parking lot and the runway and so forth here. Lonesome Pine. Elevation 2,600 feet. By the way, elevation always plays such a major role, as you already know, how it goes with this time of year. Anyway, but what's interesting to me, though, let's see if I can slow it down. Oh, I went through too fast. Kingsport had a little bit of snow there around 2:30, and yes, it was actually on the grassy surfaces, and it did accumulate, and that's in Kingsport. That's one of the lowest elevation areas that we have in this viewing area. Around some spots in Kingsport get down to 1,075 feet. Most areas around 1,200 feet, but nonetheless, yeah, even accumulate in Kingsport. So just all that to say, if it's cold enough that it actually accumulates in Kingsport, it will accumulate in your location if you get one of those bands overhead. Anyway, so as we go through the evening, notice how models are picking up on some of these snow bands. Now this is making it maybe a little bit more widespread than what it's really looking like on radar to me. This is the IBM graph model. HRRR, I think, does maybe a little better job of picking up on some of these individual bands. You notice, though, as we go through the evening, that's, in my opinion, one of the best chances of snow, because as we go into the overnight, it becomes partly cloudy, and areas that have some snow on the ground, that will also help with that cooling process. The radiational cooling takes place. It turns very cold. We're aiming for 20 degrees tonight. Yes, it's going to be cold. Partly cloudy Tuesday, partly cloudy Wednesday. Looks a lot better, a lot warmer, just a little bit breezy by Wednesday. It stays cold for tomorrow, though, for Veterans Day. Anyway, what everybody wants to know is those snow totals. So, yes, we are not going to skip out on that. So, I'm thinking valleys. This is not one of the big ones for the valleys, but sometimes, hey, you know, if you're driving and there's rush hour traffic, all that stuff, it just takes a little bit to completely disrupt our travel plans. And you know how it is on the interstate, 26, 81, a little bit of snow can go a long, long ways. And hello, we're expecting between really trace amounts here to maybe upwards of an inch in some of our valley locations, Tri-Cities, so forth. If you get enough of a snow band, we'll see about an inch, at least around in spots, but many of us won't even see that. Some of us may see trace amounts. So it's going to vary significantly based on location and elevation. Some spots, even, especially as you move into Southwest Virginia, we will see higher totals, generally between 1 and 3. I'm thinking for several locations in Southwest Virginia, but certainly the higher terrain, that's where we could be looking at 3. You get beyond 4,000 feet, though, folks, we're talking about 3 to 6 inches. How about Mount LeConte, though? It's not even on here. I don't know if I can. Yes, we can. So ignore that 1 inch or less mark. If you look down into the pink there, they're expecting amounts around 12 to 18 inches. Yeah, hey, let's just talk about almost into the feet of snow there for Mount LeConte down south of Gatlinburg. But anyway, here's your snow total map. Pick it out here. Don't take this as literal gospel. Just know it is going to vary significantly based on where those bands set up. But also know that it's cold enough now with, what, a temperature of 27 degrees out here at the station. It's in the 20s pretty much Tri-Cities wide now, so it's cold enough that snow will accumulate where it does set up, and it's going to be even colder tonight. But anyway, yeah, it's just be on alert for some slick spots, even in the valleys. And remember, bridges and overpasses freeze first. 20 degrees tonight, clearing and colder after those snow squalls, and then partly cloudy, cold for Veterans Day, a high of 39. Looks like a low of about, I don't know, 27, 28 or so for Wednesday morning, and then 55. 55 for a high on Wednesday, a better day, sunshine, looks nice into the week. And then rain showers move back in next week. Yeah, what do you think about that, folks? Yeah. Anyway, so it's going to be bitter cold tonight. Just take it careful and just know it's getting cold enough now that we start to see some of the snow. And I know we have warm ground temperatures, like I totally get that. But when you have temperatures in the 20s, it's a little bit of a different ball game. It usually doesn't take near as fast, as you know, it doesn't take as fast for some of the snow to accumulate. So just be on alert for some slick spots. Bridges and overpasses, as always, freeze first. All right, you all have a safe evening, and we'll see you on the shows. So Dave will be in tonight. I'll be in the Storm Tracker. And then early evening shows, 5, 5:30, and 6, I'll have the latest look at the snowfall forecast. We'll iron out all the details, and hey, we're going to talk about the warm-up ahead as well. So anyway, you all have a safe and great evening. We'll see you later.